Hi guys, today we're gonna make a vegan Spanish stew called Pollo guisado. It's chicken stew. And what you see me doing here is rinsing out the soy chunks. I had them soaking for a few hours and then I just rinsed them and squeezed them out. Here I have the vegan broth base. It's a chicken bouillon but in a powder form. I'm gonna leave all the links for the bouillon and the soy chunks in the description box in this video. That way you know exactly what size bag of soy chunks to get, and you know exactly where you can get the chicken bouillon, the vegan chicken bouillon from. So here I added 4 tablespoons to the soy chunk, and I'm gonna mix it up. And once it's all mixed up, I'm just gonna cover it and put it on the side until I'm ready to use it in the stew. Okay, here I'm adding about a 1/4 cup of canola oil. You could use olive oil. And I'm putting in my cubed potatoes and cut up carrots. And I'm just going to saute them for a few minutes in that oil. Now I cleared a space in the middle to start adding the seasonings. I like to saute my seasonings. It brings out the flavors more. So there is like a teaspoon of red pepper flakes, a teaspoon of black pepper, a tablespoon of garlic powder, a tablespoon of onion powder. I'm not adding salt just yet. This is coriander, about a teaspoon of coriander. That's sofrito. That's about a little more than a 1/4 cup of sofrito. That I will also add the link in this video, so that way you could go straight to the video and get the directions on how to make that. Here I'm adding 2 packages of sazon that has the achote in it. And I'm going to mix everything up so everything gets nice and toasted in the oil. Now, I haven't added any salt to this. Reason being is because the vegan chicken bouillon has salt already added to it. Therefore, the stew may not even need any salt. But taste it towards the end, just in case you may need just a little bit more salt. So here, I added the soy chunks. And I'm going to also let this saute with all the veggies, the vegetables, and the seasonings. I also added oregano to this, guys. I don't believe I mentioned that. I added about a teaspoon of oregano as well. Here I'm adding water. Add water to cover, go just like maybe a couple of inches above the stew. And yeah, a couple of inches above the stew, because we're going to be adding more vegetables after this cooks for a bit. Here I'm adding frozen corn. These are the mini corns, but quite honestly, these were big mini corns. I could have actually cut these in half as well. but I just left them as is. You could also use corn kernels, about a cup of corn kernels. Add about a cup of frozen peas. Okay, now cover and let it simmer until the carrots and the potatoes are softened. Here I'm peeling yucca. This yucca is gonna go in after the potatoes and the carrots are soft because the yucca, it cooks quick, softens up quick. So I'm just gonna peel this up. Okay, after I peeled it, I rinsed it off. And I cut off those ends. Okay, here I'm gonna cut it into sections so I could safely sit it up the long way and cut it straight down the middle. And what I'm gonna do here next is in the middle of these yuccas is this stem, a very fibrous stem. You want to remove that because it's not very it's just not very nice. If you get that in your mouth, it's very fibrous. It's not very pleasant. So I'm just checking. Be careful when you do this because the knife can slip and you can get cut. So just be very careful with this. So you do this to each section, check for that stem, and just pull it out. Once we're done pulling out all the stems, also make sure you have your bowl of cold water nearby because once we cut these up, we're gonna put them in the cold water to sit until they're ready to add to the stew. Once you cut them in half again, most likely you'll see more fibers because right away you can't see the stems right away. When you cut them into a half, that's usually when you can see more of the stems. So here I'm just cutting them into thinner pieces, and that's how I'm going to add them into the soup and the stew. It's actually a soupy kind of stew. It thickens up as it stands though, so it is basically a stew. That's it, just put them in there, let them sit, and then just rinse them off when you're ready to add them to the stew. And that was one medium-sized yucca. So you use a medium-sized yucca. It's a perfect size for the amount of stew that we're making. Okay, so now here, the stew has been going for a while. I forgot to add the olives in. I could have added them in at the very beginning, but I forgot. So just add a cup of green olives. I like to rinse my olives off before I actually put them into the stew, just to make sure all the brine doesn't give the stew a different taste. So here I left to cover it up, let it boil for a while longer. And here I'm going to check to see if the potatoes and the carrots are soft. Okay, everything's nice and tender. The fork went through everything. So now I can add the yucca. You guys can add whatever you want to this stew. You don't necessarily have to add all the same kind of vegetables that I'm adding. This kind of stew is nice because you could just basically add anything that's on hand and just, you know, stick to the seasonings. But basically you can add whatever vegetables you want to add to this. So here I'm going to cut up a sweet banana, and this is also going to go into the stew. Okay, so add our sweet banana, give everything a nice stir, cover it back up, and let it continue to cook for a few more minutes. You could leave the lid a little bit off. That way it could thicken up a little as well too. But like I said, this stew is going to thicken up over time. So you can have this stew by itself, or you could have it with rice, or really good. It's a really good stew. So here I'm tasting it, and yes, it could use a little bit more salt, so I added a little bit more of sea salt. Give it a good stir, cover it up, and I let it cook for like maybe 15-20 minutes longer. And actually what I did was I let it cook for about 15 more minutes, and then I just turned it off and let it sit for a while. And here I have it served with brown rice and some avocados on the side. And that's it. The dinner is done. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. Don't forget to share, hit that subscribe button, and leave your comments and your questions. I'll see you soon. Thank you.